Welcome to our deep dive today into the really just captivating history of humankind.
Right.
We're going to be using
Yeah.
excerpts from Yuval Noah Harari's book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind.
Of course.
And we're going to be exploring some key moments from the cognitive revolution
Okay.
to the present day and examining just how Homo sapiens rose to dominance and how these things called imagined realities shape our world.
Yeah.
So are you ready to have your mind blown?
Oh, absolutely. I think Harari's book really challenges us to rethink our assumptions about human progress and how we got to where we are.
Yeah, one of the first things that really struck me
Yeah.
was just this idea that for a lot of history,
Right.
Homo sapiens weren't the only humans
Yeah. It's
on a block.
we tend to picture human evolution as this straight line,
Right.
But for about 2 million years, multiple human species actually coexisted.
Wow.
Neanderthals,
Yeah.
Denisovans,
Oh.
Homo sapiens, all sharing the planet.
Makes you kind of wonder what happened to these other humans.
Right.
Did Homo sapiens outcompete them? Or did something more unsettling occur?
Well, and Harari kind of suggests that we may have some subconscious reasons for wanting to just forget about these human siblings,
Okay.
and the reason may be that we played a part in their extinction.
Now that is a sobering thought, and it makes you question this whole idea of humanity's inevitable rise to the top.
Yeah,
It wasn't a given, was it?
exactly. Makes you think about all those twists and turns, that could have led to a very different outcome.
Right. So let's talk about brains.
Okay.
Homo sapiens developed these incredibly large brains,
Yes.
way bigger than any other animal. But Harari points out that this wasn't all sunshine and roses, right?
Right.
What's the catch?
Well, think of it this way. A big brain is like having a supercomputer between your ears.
Okay.
And it requires a tremendous amount of energy,
Yeah.
which can be a major disadvantage when food is scarce.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have our large brain size makes childbirth much more difficult and dangerous for human females.
Oh, so it was a real trade-off.
Yeah.
What makes it even more intriguing is Harari's suggestion that agriculture and industry might have created what he calls
Oh, yeah.
niches for imbeciles.
Right.
Environments where less intelligent individuals could survive and reproduce because society supported them.
It challenges that assumption that intelligence alone guarantees survival,
Right.
especially in a world that is increasingly shaped by human-made systems.
So maybe big brains aren't always the evolutionary advantage they're cracked up to be.
Right.
But there must be something about our big brains that allowed Homo sapiens to thrive,
Yeah.
right? Enter the imagined realities.
This is where it gets really fascinating.
Yeah.
One of the key things that separates us from other animals is our ability to believe in things that don't physically exist.
Okay.
Nations, gods, money, corporations.
Okay.
They're all, in a sense, stories that we tell ourselves.
Right.
Harari calls them imagined realities.
So give me an example of how this imagined reality thing works in real life.
Okay. Think about money. It has no intrinsic value.
Right.
A dollar bill is just a piece of paper,
Yeah.
but we imbue it with value because we collectively believe it has value.
Right.
And this shared belief allows us to trade goods and services, build economies, and cooperate on this massive scale.
It's like this giant global game of make-believe that actually works.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not just money, take the concept of a corporation like Peugeot.
Okay.
It's a legal entity, but it doesn't exist in any physical sense.
Huh.
It's an imagined reality that allows a group of people to act as a single unit.
Okay.
This ability to create and believe in shared fictions is what enabled Homo sapiens to build empires, create religions, and ultimately dominate the planet.
So our capacity for collective storytelling is actually our superpower.
I would say in many ways, yes, this is what Harari honors.
Wow.
And what's even more remarkable is that our ability to believe in and modify these shared myths allows for rapid cultural evolution, surpassing the slow pace of genetic change.
That makes you think about all the myths we just accept as reality today, right?
Right.
Like the idea of romantic love.
Yeah.
We build entire industries, rituals, and expectations around it.
Yeah.
It shapes our behavior, but it's ultimately a story we tell ourselves.
Exactly. And that brings us to, I think, a pivotal moment in human history.
Okay.
The agricultural revolution.
Yeah.
We tend to think of it as this giant leap forward, but Harari presents a different and rather unsettling perspective.
Okay.
He suggests that agriculture may have been a trap.
Wait, a trap.
Yeah.
How? So, I mean, farming seems pretty essential to, well, everything.
From the perspective of the species, agriculture was a success.
Okay.
It allowed Homo sapiens to multiply and spread across the globe, but for the individual, it often meant harder work, a less diverse diet,
Right.
and increased susceptibility to famine and disease.
Yeah. So it benefited the species as a whole, but maybe not the average person.
Right.
That's a pretty thought-provoking idea.
It is.
It challenges this whole notion of progress.
Yeah, and Harari even points to archaeological sites like Göbekli Tepe,
Yeah.
which suggests that complex monumental architecture actually predates agriculture.
Wow.
So this challenges that traditional narrative that agriculture was this necessary precursor to civilization.
So maybe we need to rethink our assumptions about what constitutes progress in human history.
Right.
Speaking of challenging assumptions, Harari also delves into the role of imagined orders
Yeah.
in shaping social structures.
He uses the example of Hammurabi's Code, a Babylonian law code from 1750 BC.
Okay.
And this code established a clear social hierarchy dividing people into different classes with varying rights and obligations.
Uh-huh.
This hierarchy, as brutal as it seems to us today, was seen as natural and necessary for maintaining order.
So it wasn't just about laying down the law. It was about creating a shared understanding of how society should be structured.
Exactly. It was an imagined order, a set of beliefs about how the world should work.
Okay.
And these beliefs, though not based in any objective reality, had very real consequences for how people lived their lives.
And it's not just ancient history. Harari argues that even documents like the Declaration of Independence can be seen as imagined orders,
Yes.
creating a social reality based on shared ideals.
Exactly.
These ideals have a profound impact on our lives, even though they exist primarily in our minds.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What other imagined orders are we living by today, and how do they shape our behavior, our values, and our view of the world?
It really does.
Yeah.
That is a great question to ponder.
Right. And it connects to another key theme in Harari's book.
Okay.
The idea that human history is not just about the rise and fall of empires,
Right.
but also about this gradual unification of humankind.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
How did we go from a world of these isolated cultures to this interconnected global society we live in today?
Well, it wasn't a smooth or peaceful process.
Right.
Think about the Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, the British Empire.
Okay.
They all brought diverse peoples and cultures together, often through conquest and conflict.
Right.
But these empires also facilitated the exchange of ideas, technologies, and goods, laying the groundwork for a more interconnected world.
So even though empires often rose through violence, they also played a role in bringing humanity closer together.
In a way, yes, it's a complex legacy.
Yeah.
And of course, in recent centuries, globalization has dramatically accelerated this process of interconnection.
It makes you wonder if it could have happened differently.
Yeah.
Could we have achieved a global society without all the bloodshed and conquest?
It's a thought-provoking question.
It is.
It challenges us to imagine alternative paths for human history.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about money.
Okay.
It's something we use every day, but we rarely stop to think about its significance in shaping human history.
Money is fascinating because it's essentially a shared fiction that we've all agreed to believe in.
Right.
At its core, it's a system of mutual trust instead of having to barter.
Right.
We use money as this common medium of exchange,
Okay.
simplifying trade and allowing for complex economies to develop.
But how did we get from bartering to using actual money?
Right.
Was it a sudden invention or a more gradual evolution?
Harari uses the example of barley money in ancient Mesopotamia.
Okay.
To illustrate this evolution, imagine a society where barley is a staple crop.
Right.
Instead of lugging around sacks of barley for every transaction, people started using clay tablets or tokens to represent a certain amount of grain.
So it was like an early form of IOU.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these tokens could then be exchanged for other goods and services, making trade much more efficient.
Right.
It was a crucial step towards abstracting value.
But eventually we moved away from barley money to precious metals like gold and silver.
Right.
Why the switch?
Well, gold and silver have certain qualities that make them suitable as money.
Okay.
They're durable, they're divisible, and relatively scarce, meaning they hold their value.
Okay.
But it wasn't just about practicality.
Right.
Gold and silver also became imbued with this symbolic value.
Okay.
They represented wealth, power, and status.
So money isn't just a tool. It's also this powerful symbol loaded with cultural and emotional significance,
Right.
which makes the rise of capitalism all the more interesting.
Yeah.
Harari describes capitalism as an economic theory that morphed into this powerful ethic.
Okay.
How did that happen?
It's a complex story, but one key figure is Adam Smith, a Scottish economist,
Right.
who argued that individuals pursuing their self-interest in a free market would actually benefit society as a whole.
Ah, the famous invisible hand of the market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This idea, though often debated, has been incredibly influential in shaping modern economic thought.
Right.
But Harari also acknowledges the dark side of capitalism.
Okay.
The relentless pursuit of profit can lead to exploitation, inequality, and environmental damage.
He uses the example of the Atlantic slave trade to illustrate this point.
It's a stark reminder that economic efficiency doesn't always equate to ethical behavior.
Right.
The slave trade was a horrific system driven by the desire for profit.
It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that even systems that generate wealth can be built on deeply immoral foundations.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the Industrial Revolution, which, as Harari points out, fundamentally changed the way we relate to time, work, and energy.
The Industrial Revolution was a turning point in human history.
Yeah?
It ushered in an era of unprecedented technological innovation, but it also brought about profound social and environmental changes.
What were some of the most significant shifts that occurred during this period?
Well, think about the transition from plant-based energy to fossil fuels.
Okay.
Coal, oil, and natural gas became the lifeblood of modern civilization, unlocking vast new sources of power.
Right.
But it also set the stage for the climate crisis we're facing today.
It's almost like we made a deal with the devil, immense power, in exchange for long-term consequences we're only beginning to fully understand.
And this new energy source powered a wave of technological advancement.
Yeah.
Steam engines, factories, railroads, they all transformed the way we worked and lived.
It's a far cry from the rhythms of pre-industrial life. Did everyone see this as progress?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The rise of the factory and the assembly line created new forms of work that were often repetitive, regimented, and alienating.
Yeah.
It disrupted traditional ways of life and created new social problems.
Harari also explores the ethical dilemmas that emerged during this period,
Right.
particularly concerning how we treat animals in industrial farming systems.
He uses the example of Harry Harlow's monkey experiments to highlight this point.
Okay.
Harlow's research showed the importance of social bonds and maternal care for primates.
Right.
He demonstrated the profound psychological damage that can result from isolation and deprivation.
And yet those are precisely the conditions that billions of animals endure in factory farms.
It's a stark reminder of the dark side of our technological progress.
Right.
We've become incredibly efficient at producing food, but at what cost?
It raises profound questions about our relationship with the natural world and the ethical boundaries of our technological advancements.
It's a question that continues to haunt us as we enter an era of even more profound technological advancements. Harari suggests that the scientific revolution might be more than just a historical revolution. It could be a biological one.
Okay, now we're getting into some really mind-bending territory.
Yeah.
What does he mean by a biological revolution?
Think about the potential of bioengineering to reshape life itself.
Okay.
Harari uses the example of Alba, a genetically modified rabbit that glows green.
Wow.
It was created by an artist, but it demonstrates the power we now have to manipulate life at its most fundamental level.
Glowing rabbits are pretty wild, but where does this lead us? What are the real-world implications?
Well, imagine the possibilities for enhancing human capabilities.
Okay.
We already have technologies like bionic limbs and cochlear implants that can restore lost function.
Right.
But what if we could enhance existing abilities?
Yeah.
Could we create humans with superior strength, intelligence, or even lifespan?
It's both exciting and a little terrifying to think about. It's like something out of science fiction.
Exactly, and it raises a whole host of ethical dilemmas.
Right.
Who would have access to these enhancements?
Right.
Would it create a new class divide between the enhanced and the unenhanced?
Right.
What would it mean for the future of humanity?
These aren't just theoretical questions anymore. They're things we need to be grappling with right now as these technologies become more powerful.
Absolutely. We can't just leave these questions to scientists and engineers.
Right.
We need a broader societal conversation about the implications of bioengineering and where we draw the line.
Harari even suggests that this revolution could lead to the creation of entirely new life forms, things that have never existed before. It's like we're on the verge of becoming gods ourselves, with the power to create and destroy life.
It's a powerful image, and it brings us back to one of Harari's central questions. Now that humanity possesses these godlike powers, what will we choose to create? What kind of future will we design for ourselves and for the planet?
It's a lot to take in. We've journeyed from the multi-species past of humanity to the rise and fall of empires. from the power of imagined realities to the transformative effects of the Industrial Revolution, and now to the mind-blowing potential of bioengineering. It's been quite a journey through Harari's Sapiens.
It really has.
It's a reminder of the incredible complexity and depth of human history and the profound choices that lie ahead of us. So for our listeners out there, what resonated most with you? What new questions are swirling in your mind? What kind of future do you want to help create?
The future isn't preordained. We have
Hmm.
choices to make individually and collectively, and those choices will shape the course of human history for generations to come.
Understanding the past with all its complexities and contradictions is crucial for making informed choices about the future. Keep exploring these ideas. Keep asking those tough questions. The journey of understanding our human story is an ongoing one, and it's one we all share. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Sapiens.